Hey punks! Welcome back to the University of Radlands. We have our 17th Cult of Chrome camp preview to go over today, and I will link Daniel's Board Game Geek post in the description so you can read that as well. So the camp that was revealed or shown off from Daniel today is one called Science Lab, and you'll see why it got that name in a moment. It gives you 0 starting cards at the beginning of the game, and for 1 water, you discard the top card of the deck. You may use its junk effect. So it's called Science Lab because it's very similar to the Scientist. You know, Scientist is a person. When you pay for their ability for 1 water, you discard 3 cards from the top of the deck, and you can choose one of those junk abilities. Now, the main difference here is you're only discarding the top card of the deck, and you may choose to use that junk ability. Now, I don't have a ton of combos or synergies to show with this camp because it kind of synergizes and combos with everything. You know, you have access to all of the junk abilities in the deck, and that reaches kind of the gamut of everything in the game. Now, there is one camp that I think synergizes really well with Science Lab, but Daniel hasn't revealed it yet. So maybe it might be one of the 27 camps that are going to be previewed. If not, it'll be one that you'll get to open up and find out what it is when Cult of Chrome releases around Gen Con if you're there to pick it up, or mid-September from pre-orders. So let's dive a little deeper here into the abilities. So when you discard the top card of the deck, there's going to be 6 options that you're going to have available to you depending on what card is revealed. You would be able to get a Restore. You'd be able to get a Raiders, so that again can play the Raiders or advance the Raiders along the event queue. You'd get an Injure to hit an opponent's person. You could gain a Punk on your side. You could get a Refund. You'd get 1 water back, essentially giving your money back for the Science Lab ability, or you'd be able to draw a card. And all of these abilities are great. Like I said, this camp kind of synergizes with everything. You know, if you're getting Raiders, maybe hope for a raid. If you need to deal a damage, you could deal a damage. You know, gaining cards and punks. This probably isn't something that you would use at the start of the game, just because if you're going first, 2 of these abilities would probably not resolve if you drew them. You know, if you discarded an Injure, if you're going first, your opponent hasn't played any people. And if you reveal a Restore, you know, all of your camps are upright unless you're playing with the new cannon. In that case, this and the new cannon would synergize pretty well on the first turn, but I don't know if you'd push your luck that much. And speaking of the Restore, if Science Lab is damaged or, you know, turned to the side and you activate this, and you get the Restore junk, keep in mind that because Science Lab is what activated the junk in the first place, you would not be able to self-restore Science Lab with any Restore junk abilities that you drew from the top. So just something to keep in mind. You can restore everything else on your side of the board except Science Lab if it was damaged. I think this is a great ability because everything for all of this usually costs about 2 water. You know, normally if you want to draw a card, it would cost you 2. You know, Restores normally cost 2. To advance or send out the Raiders is normally 2 costs, except for some specific cards. You know, if you get a Refund, you didn't get another cool ability, but at least you didn't lose your water. You know, and gaining a Punk for protection. You know, these 2 might be the least of the ones that you would want for junking, but they're not terrible. So I think you get really good value for this, even though it's random. You know, so just keep in mind that because you're dealing with the junk icons, the one you're going to see the most often is Injure. There's the most of those are in the deck. Raiders comes next. The second most of that symbol is in the deck, and then Restore, Drawing, and Water is on 8 cards each. So kind of similar chance to see all of those. And then you're least likely to see a Punk. There's only 6 cards in the deck that contain a Punk. So just kind of keep that in mind. that you're most likely going to see an Inger or a Raider, and everything else would be a little bit more of a surprise. So this was a really fun one to play test and use. It was one of my favorites during that time. If it was in my 6, it was one I usually would like to pick and use. Now, when this camp was first introduced into playtesting, it was a lot closer to Scientist. It actually let you discard 2 cards from the top, and then you can pick and choose which junk ability you wanted to use. That was probably a little too strong of an ability, which is why it was reduced to just whatever the 1 card revealed is, you may use that ability. So that makes me a little sad, but I could see why that was the route that had to be taken, just to make sure the card wasn't too strong. Well, punks, let me know what you think about this. Is there a synergy or a combo that you can see that maybe I'm missing? Is there a junk icon that you would want to see maybe more often or the most? Or does it just kind of depend on your situation and where you're at in the game? Let me know. Comment down below. I want to hear your thoughts on Science Lab. And as always, stay thirsty, punks.